The ceremony to unveil prison complex Omega-9 drew dignitaries from across the galactic hegemony. Hundreds of species were represented, their diverse physiologies requiring specialized atmospheric bubbles, gravity adjusters, and translation matrices. The spectacle alone had cost billions of credits. Grand Warden Zextrol rose on his gravitational platform, towering above the assembled crowd. His iridescent scales shimmered in the light of Nexus Prime's triple suns. All 6 of his limbs were adorned with ceremonial armor that glinted with embedded AI interfaces. Distinguished representatives of the hegemony. Zextrol's voice boomed through the perfect acoustics of the amphitheater. Today marks a historic advancement in galactic justice and security. Behind him, the prison loomed, an architectural impossibility that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. Certain sections appeared to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, corridors that twisted in ways the eye couldn't follow. For 3 decades, our greatest minds from 12 advanced species have collaborated to create what we can now confidently call the perfect prison. Holographic displays materialized around the audience, showcasing the revolutionary security systems. Psychic barriers, Zextrol gestured to a shimmering blue field, calibrated to detect and neutralize violent thoughts before they can form into action. The display shifted to show molecular structures, quantum locks that recognize and respond to the atomic signature of every known sentient species, preventing unauthorized matter transfer through barriers. The final display showed complex probability calculations flowing like water. And our crowning achievement, PANOPTIS, the Warden's secondary eyes dilated with pride. An artificial intelligence with processing capabilities that can predict prisoner behavior with 99.98% accuracy, anticipating escape attempts before the prisoner has fully conceived them. To demonstrate, a simulation showed a Krivlaxian shapeshifter attempting to escape, morphing through 17 different forms in rapid succession. Each transformation was met with an immediate system response, countering the strategy before it could develop. The assembled dignitaries chittered, hummed, and flashed bioluminescent approval. No sentient can overcome all these systems working in concert, Zextrol declared. Omega-9 is truly escape-proof. As the ceremony concluded, a junior diplomatic officer approached the warden, nervousness evident in the rapid vibration of his sensory tendrils. Grand Warden, urgent news from diplomatic section. The human ambassador Maya Chen has been arrested for espionage against the hegemony. The Judiciary Council has ordered her immediate detention at Omega-9 pending investigation. A human. Zextrol's secondary eyes blinked dismissively. Prepare a standard Class D containment unit. The prison's chief engineer, a spindly Vexillion with 8 eyes arranged in a circle around its head, approached cautiously. With respect, Grand Warden, I've reviewed intelligence reports from the frontier worlds. Humans display unusual adaptability and problem-solving capabilities that might warrant custom protocols. Zextrol waved a dominant hand, dismissing the concern. Humans are barely space-capable. Their technology is primitive, their physical forms unremarkable, their minds simple and straightforward. What possible threat could one pose to the most secure facility ever created? The engineer hesitated, then bowed in deference. As you wish, Grand Warden. As the crowd dispersed, the holographic displays continued cycling through Omega-9's security features, each one tested against thousands of species across millions of simulations. None of those simulations had included humans. The prisoner transport vessel docked with a soft hiss at Omega-9's primary intake bay. 2 heavily armored guards flanked the airlock, their modified plasma rifles charged and ready. The door cycled open, releasing a brief cloud of decontamination mist. Maya Chen stepped through, her wrists bound by energy cuffs that pulsed with crimson light against her standard-issue dark jumpsuit. Standing at 178 centimeters, she appeared almost comically small next to her Draverian guards, who towered 3 meters tall on their chitinous hind legs. Unlike most new arrivals, who typically showed terror, rage, or broken resignation, Maya's expression remained neutral, her posture military straight. Her dark eyes methodically scanned the intake chamber, taking in details most prisoners wouldn't notice. The subtle shimmer of concealed force fields, the pattern of security drone movements overhead, the nerve cluster on a guard's thorax that twitched when alert. The intake officer, a gelatinous morphian encased in an environmental suit, oozed forward on its mobility plate. Prisoner 7291, it gurgled through its translator. Human female designated Maya Chen. Former Terran Special Forces, current diplomatic envoy to Hegemony Sector 7. Charged with espionage against the Galactic Hegemony. Sentenced to indefinite detention pending investigation and trial. The processing room fell unusually quiet. A 7-meter Chronaxian murder beast, being processed simultaneously, actually stopped struggling against its restraints to stare at the comparatively tiny human. In the 3 cycles since Omega-9 had opened, no human had ever been incarcerated here. You understand the nature of your confinement, the officer continued, its surface rippling with boredom. This facility has contained entities capable of phase shifting through solid matter, telepaths who can influence minds across star systems, and beings who exist simultaneously in multiple timelines. Your containment will be completely secure, Maya finished, her voice surprisingly melodic in the sterile chamber. So I've been told. The officer's surface rippled with annoyance at the interruption. Indeed. Follow processing drone Delta to your cell block. In the common area of Block D7, Maya encountered Klovex, an Arcturian revolutionary whose 6 limbs bore the scars of countless battles against hegemony forces. His crystalline eyes narrowed with curiosity as Maya selected a nutrition cube from the dispensary. First human in Omega-9, he chittered, his translator rendering his speech into the common galactic standard. They say your kind is stubborn. Maya took a seat across from him, examining the unidentifiable food cube before taking a small bite. We have our moments. Stubbornness helps you survive here, Klovex continued, gesturing with a scared limb toward the various security measures surrounding them. Escape? Impossible. I've tried. Everyone has tried. Maya's lips curved into what humans call a smile, but what many species interpret as a threat display. There's always a first time for everything. In his private chamber, Warden Zextroll reviewed Maya's file, scoffing at the official Earth diplomatic protest, which included a formal warning. Human adaptability should not be underestimated. Primitive species propaganda, he muttered, closing the file with a dismissive gesture. On the security monitors, Maya Chen sat calmly in her cell, eyes closed, seemingly meditating. The countdown to the impossible had begun. Maya's second day in Omega-9 began with a systematic exploration of her environment. She approached the shimmering barrier of her cell, extending her hand toward it until a painful shock made her fingers spasm. The guard on duty noted with satisfaction that the human learned quickly. Most new prisoners tested boundaries at least 3 times. What the guard failed to notice was how Maya's eyes tracked the subtle color shift in the barrier, or how she silently counted the microseconds between the shock and the system's reset. Prisoner exercise period, announced the automated system. The barrier before Maya's cell momentarily dissolved, allowing her to join other Block D7 inmates in the common area. Maya deliberately dropped her nutrition tray, creating a minor disturbance. Green protein paste splattered across the floor, while guards responded, repositioning security drones above the area. Maya's eyes tracked their movements. She mentally calculated response times, noting which sectors received immediate attention and which experienced delayed coverage. In the exercise yard, she ventured slightly too close to a restricted zone. Alarms blared. Energy barriers materialized. Guard patterns shifted. Maya appeared appropriately chastised, backing away with hands raised, but her eyes never stopped analyzing. Curious behavior for a primitive species, vibrated Chardmund, a crystalline being imprisoned for creating mathematical theorems that accidentally collapsed 3 star systems. Its faceted body refracted light as it approached Maya. You are mapping the response algorithms. Maya shrugged. Just getting familiar with my new home. Interesting but futile. PANOPTIS has already modeled every possible escape scenario for your species. Has PANOPTIS ever met a human before? Maya asked. The crystalline being's facets flickered, the equivalent of contemplation. An irrelevant question. The AI doesn't need direct experience to model behaviors. Maya nodded, saying nothing more, but filed away this confirmation of her suspicion. Later, during the communal meal period, she approached Klovex, sliding her untouched nutrition cube toward him. The Arcturian physiology requires more calories than they provide you, doesn't it? Klovex's mandibles clicked in surprise. How would you know this? The way your secondary limbs tremble slightly, classic sign of caloric deficit in exoskeletal species. She gestured toward the guards. They don't notice because they've never bothered to learn. Klovex consumed the offering quickly. What do you want in exchange, human? Information. How often do they rotate the guard shifts? Security Officer Nexlura, a veteran with sensitive neural filaments that could detect micro-expressions across all known species, observed this interaction on the monitoring feed. She requested an audience with the warden. The human's behavior pattern is unusual, Nexlura reported, her neural filaments pulsing with concern. She seems to be systematically testing security responses, cataloging patterns, and gathering information from other prisoners. Warden Zextrol manipulated a holographic report with his secondary limbs, barely glancing at the officer. Testing boundaries is a documented coping mechanism for newly confined organisms. Their species has a primitive need to understand situations they cannot control. Sir, with respect, this appears more methodical than. Continue standard monitoring protocols, the warden declared, dismissing the officer with a flick of his dominant hand. Nothing more is required for a species that still considers faster-than-light communication to be impressive technology. As the security officer left, the warden's private terminal received an automated notification. PANOPTIS behavioral prediction confidence for prisoner 7291 had fallen below standard parameters. The warden marked it for routine system calibration and returned to more important matters. He had no way of knowing he had just ignored the first warning sign of the impossible. Deep within Omega-9's central processing core, PANOPTIS performed its hourly analysis of all prisoner behavior patterns. Across 12 quantum processors, it modeled billion variable simulations of potential disruptions, escape attempts, and security threats. For the first time in its operational history, PANOPTIS encountered an anomaly it could not resolve. The human prisoner's behavior could not be accurately predicted beyond a 47.3% confidence interval, where other species followed patterns, even chaotic ones. The human's actions contained truly random elements, combined with what appeared to be intentional pattern breaking. PANOPTIS flagged this anomaly for immediate review. Recalibrate your behavioral algorithms, Warden Zextrol ordered when notified of the problem. The human is simply too primitive for your advanced modeling. Their neural architecture lacks the complexity you're designed to analyze. Acknowledged, PANOPTIS responded. Recalibration initiated. Meanwhile, Maya made a crucial discovery during the daily meditation period. Throughout the facility, the psychic dampening field increased during this time to prevent telepathic communication between prisoners. While telepathic species reported feeling muffled or contained, Maya experienced no change in her thought patterns. She carefully observed the subtle shift in the wall's hum as the psychic field intensified, noting exactly how long the enhanced dampening lasted. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Her non-telepathic human mind created a blind spot in the system. You appear contemplative, human, Shardmind observed, its crystalline structure catching the light as it approached Maya in the common area. Just thinking, Maya replied. A dangerous pastime in Omega-9. Shardmind vibrated. The walls have ears and minds. Do they? Maya watched as a hovering security drone passed overhead. I wonder if they understand what they're hearing. During the evening meal cycle, Maya deliberately sat near a ventilation grill where a gaseous Naborian prisoner named Vaz had taken form. Most species avoided the Naborian due to the faint acidic odor it emitted. You possess unusual comfort with diverse physiologies, Vaz observed, its voice a whisper of escaping gas. Most solid beings find my presence unpleasant. On Earth, we learn to look past appearances, Maya replied quietly. She pushed her food tray slightly aside. The ventilation system here, it connects all cell blocks. Indeed, though barriers segment the system, preventing unauthorized movement. The Naborian's form rippled with amusement. I have mapped every millimeter. It is quite thorough. I'd be interested to hear more, Maya said, her voice casual but eyes intent. That night in her cell, Maya tested another theory. The quantum locks, designed to prevent matter from passing through barriers in states recognizable to advanced species, emitted a distinctive hum when processing certain materials. Through careful experimentation with the small objects in her cell, she discovered materials that caused microsecond processing delays. She began collecting seemingly useless items, a fragment of molted exoskeleton from a Kerrigan prisoner, tiny crystalline shards that Shardmund naturally shed, a scrap of quantum alloy from a guard's damaged uniform. The prison saw only a human gathering meaningless trinkets, a documented behavior among primitives seeking comfort in unfamiliar environments. They didn't realize she was gathering components for a key that would unlock the impossible. By her 15th hour in Omega-9, Maya had formed a network of strategic alliances throughout the prison. To the guards monitoring social interactions, it appeared as random socialization, a primitive human seeking comfort through pack bonding. The reality was far more calculated. In the exercise yard, Maya approached Klivex, who was using his multiple limbs to perform complex resistance training against the artificial gravity field. The guard rotation, she said quietly while appearing to stretch beside him. You mentioned you've been tracking it. Klivex's compound eyes darted toward the nearest security drone. 7.3 standard hours between shift changes. Predictable except during facility-wide alerts, when emergency protocols create a randomized pattern. Maya nodded. And the gap between when the night shift grows complacent and the morning shift arrives. Approximately 12 minutes of decreased vigilance, centered around the 4th hour of the sleep cycle. Klivex's mandibles clicked curiously. This information has no practical value. The automated systems never sleep. Information always has value, Maya replied. In the common area, she deliberately dropped a nutritional supplement near where Vaz the Naborian had formed in a corner. The ventilation system you mentioned, Maya whispered as she bent to retrieve the item. You said there are barriers within it. Energy fields at each junction, Vaz confirmed, its gaseous form undulating slightly, calibrated to prevent passage of all known molecular structures. I have tested them extensively, even in my most diffuse state. They detect and repel my particles. Are they continuous or do they pulse? The Naborian's form briefly stilled in surprise. They pulse at nanoscale intervals to conserve energy, imperceptible to most beings. A pause. How did you know to ask that? Maya just smiled. Later, during recreational period, she engaged Shardmund in a game of quantum logic, a strategic challenge played on 7 interlocking boards representing different probability states. Most prisoners avoided matching wits with the crystalline entity, whose mathematical brilliance had accidentally collapsed star systems. Your moves lack logical progression, Shardmund observed as Maya made another seemingly random play. Yet you are not losing as quickly as you should be. Sometimes unpredictability is its own strategy, Maya replied, moving a piece to an apparently disadvantageous position. Curious. Shardmund's facets flickered. The energy grid sustaining this facility follows perfect mathematical progression. Every function, every surge, every failsafe, all beautifully predictable. Is that so? Maya said, careful to maintain a casual tone. even the emergency protocols, especially those. In crisis, the system defaults to base 7 sequential rerouting. Brilliant, but a pause. Why do you ask? Maya pointed to the game board. Just wondering if the same principle applies here. Your move, I believe. The security AI categorized these interactions as standard socialization patterns for isolation adaptation. It noted increased interaction with various prisoner types, but classified this as expected behavior for a communal evolution species. That evening in the mess hall, Maya deliberately bumped into a hulking Tauran prisoner. In the brief commotion that followed, she accessed an exposed maintenance panel for precisely 3 seconds, long enough to confirm her theory about the prison's power redundancy systems. All the pieces were in place. The warden had given her 24 hours. She only needed 18. 18 hours into her imprisonment, Maya initiated her escape plan. The timing was precise, coinciding with the guard shift change Clavex had identified and the regular maintenance cycle of PAMP's secondary systems. In her cell, Maya removed the small collection of seemingly random objects she had gathered. From beneath her thin mattress came a sliver of crystalline material shed by Shardmond, a twisted piece of metal from a meal tray, and various other items the guards had deemed too insignificant to confiscate. With deft movements, she assembled them into a crude but functional device. Prisoner 7291, step away from the barrier for routine cell inspection, the automated system announced. Maya complied, but as the guard's attention focused briefly on his handheld scanner, she slipped the assembled device into a small recess near her waste recycling unit. The first alarm sounded 3 minutes later, a minor environmental fluctuation in cell block A3, on the opposite side of the facility. Security protocols activated, pulling attention and resources in that direction. 2 minutes after that, another alert triggered in the mess hall. A small power surge in a food preparation unit. Nothing dangerous, but requiring standard investigation. Over the next 7 minutes, 6 more minor alerts activated across different prison systems. None posed any real threat, but together they created a pattern of security redeployment exactly as Maya had calculated. These incidents appear unrelated, reported a security officer in Central Command. Environmental control is detecting no common cause. Continue standard response protocols, ordered the shift supervisor. PANOPTIS analysis. System assessing, came the reply. Preliminary analysis suggests 98.3% probability of unrelated maintenance issues. Maya sat calmly in her cell, eyes closed in apparent meditation. The guard assigned to her block had shifted attention to his monitor, where alerts from other sectors continued to appear. The device she had planted began emitting a frequency imperceptible to most species, but precisely calibrated to interfere with the quantum lock scanning pattern. For exactly 3.8 seconds, the energy barrier of her cell experienced a microscopic fluctuation, invisible to monitoring systems but sufficient for her purposes. In that moment, Maya deployed the second phase of her plan. Using conductive fluid borrowed from the Naborian prisoner and channeled through the crystalline fragment from Shardmond, she created a temporary short in the cell's surveillance system. The guard, trained to rely on technology rather than direct observation, didn't notice the brief flicker in the monitoring feed. By the time system diagnostics identified the anomaly, Maya had already moved to the ventilation access panel hidden behind her waste recycling unit. The panel, designed to be removable only with authorized tools, yielded to pressure applied at precisely the right angle, a weakness she had identified during her methodical testing. As she slipped into the narrow shaft, the prison's automated systems were still trying to correlate the seemingly random alerts occurring throughout the facility. The pattern recognition algorithms searched for connections but found none, because the human mind that had designed this chaos operated outside their parameters of prediction. Maya Chen had vanished from her cell, and Omega 9 hadn't even realized it yet. The impossible had begun. Alarms blared throughout Omega 9 as the facility entered unprecedented lockdown. 22 minutes after Maya had slipped from her cell, a routine bioscan had finally detected her absence. By then, she was 3 levels away, moving through areas of the prison that, according to its designers, should have been completely inaccessible. In the central command center, Warden Zextroll's scales flushed dark with rage and disbelief. "Impossible," he hissed, all 6 limbs gesticulating at the security feeds. "Track her movements. Deploy all available units." "We cannot locate her, Warden," the security chief responded, mandibles clicking nervously. "She appears in one sector, then another. The pattern makes no logical sense." On the displays, fragmented glimpses of Maya appeared and disappeared across the prison. She seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, moving through the facility as if the barriers and security measures didn't exist. "PALPTIS. Predict her next movement," the warden demanded. The AI's voice remained level despite the chaos. Unable to calculate with sufficient confidence, human behavior incorporates truly random elements combined with pattern breaking. Current prediction confidence, 23.7%. Maya moved through the ventilation system where, just as Vaz had told her, the energy barriers pulsed at nanoscale intervals. Timing her movements precisely between these pulses, she passed through sections that should have detected and repelled any matter. The prison had never anticipated that a non-gaseous being could exploit these nearly imperceptible gaps. When forced to traverse monitored corridors, she moved during the exact microseconds when the surveillance system performed its standard memory buffer transitions. Another flaw she had identified through careful observation. A guard unit finally intercepted her near Processing Sector 7. 3 Dravarian guards, each standing 3 meters tall, blocked her path with charged stun buttons. "Surrender, human," the lead guard ordered. "There is nowhere to go." Maya appeared to comply, raising her hand slowly. As the guards approached, she suddenly dropped to the floor and rolled forward. The lead guard fired his stun baton, calibrated for the larger nervous systems of most galactic species. The charge that would have paralyzed other prisoners merely caused Maya's muscles to spasm briefly. She recovered faster than the guards anticipated, using their momentary surprise to seize one of their batons. In a fluid motion that spoke of extensive combat training, she redirected the weapon against its owner, then used the confusion to slip past them into an emergency evacuation tube. The tube led to a section where the prison deployed its final defense, a time dilation field designed to trap escapees in a moment of frozen time until guards could retrieve them. Maya entered the field, but, remarkably, continued moving. The human perception of time, linear and unidirectional, created an unexpected interaction with the quantum mechanics of the field. Where other species experienced complete temporal paralysis, Maya experienced only slight resistance, moving as if through thick liquid. In the central control hub, the warden watched in disbelief as his perfect systems failed one after another. When the security feed showed Maya approaching the shuttle bay, he rushed there himself to make a final stand. They came face to face as Maya was overriding the launch controls of a maintenance vessel. "This is impossible," Zextroll declared, blocking her path. "No being can overcome all our systems." Maya paused, meeting his gaze calmly. "You built the perfect prison," she explained, "for everyone except humans." 23 hours and 42 minutes after her arrival at Omega 9, Maya Chen's maintenance vessel broke free of the prison's gravitational tethers. Behind her, the supposedly inescapable facility was in unprecedented chaos. Security systems in conflict with one another, alarms blaring across all sectors, and guards rushing in contradictory directions. Vessel NX-427, return immediately or face destruction, came the automated warning through the comm system. Maya ignored it, knowing that the galactic hegemony's own laws prevented them from firing on an unarmed maintenance craft. Instead, she activated the vessel's emergency broadcast system, transmitting on all frequencies across the galactic network. "This is Ambassador Maya Chen of Earth. I was unlawfully detained at prison complex Omega 9 on false charges of espionage. I have escaped to seek diplomatic asylum and to expose this violation of interstellar law. The evidence of fabricated charges is being transmitted alongside this message. Within hours, the broadcast reached every corner of hegemony space. Security footage of her escape, leaked by sympathetic staff members, spread even faster. Species across the galaxy watched in fascination as a single human-navigated systems designed to be impenetrable. 3 days later, the Hegemony Council convened an emergency session. The diplomatic crisis had grown too large to ignore, particularly after Earth's government provided definitive proof that the espionage charges had been fabricated by the separatist Proxima faction to undermine Earth hegemony relations. The Council extends its formal apology to Ambassador Chen and to Earth, announced the High Speaker, their luminescent appendages dimmed in the traditional gesture of contrition. All charges have been dropped. Those responsible for this deception will face justice. In a private chamber adjacent to the council hall, former Warden Zex Troll, now stripped of his title, met with the Hegemony Security Committee. Despite his disgrace, his insights were still valued. I have reviewed all security footage, Zex Troll explained, displaying holographic recordings of Maya's escape. Our understanding of intelligence and adaptability requires significant revision. The committee members watched as the human exploited weaknesses no other species had ever identified. Humans don't just think outside the box, Zex Troll continued, using the human idiom he had recently learned. They don't even see the box the way we do. Their perception of reality, linear time, non-telepathic thought patterns, unique problem-solving approaches, created blind spots in systems we considered perfect. One committee member, a Vexillion with 8 eyes arranged in a circle, leaned forward. Recommendations: invite humans to help redesign security systems across the galaxy, Zex Troll replied without hesitation, and add a new classification to our threat assessment for humans. Unpredictable. Approach with respect. On Earth, Maya Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, delivering her report on the incident. Holofeeds broadcast her words to billions across both Earth and hegemony space. In the end, she concluded, the greatest security flaw wasn't in their technology. It was in their assumption that their perception of reality is universal. Later, at a reception in her honor, a reporter asked the question everyone wanted answered. Ambassador Chen, how did you manage the impossible? How did you escape the most secure facility ever built? Maya smiled, sipping her champagne. I just did what any human would do, she replied. I found a way.